guys, welcome to another episode of What the Tech Am I Doing? So today we have one of my friends, Matt Klotz. He has recently come back from the Deaf Olympics where he broke some more records, got a ton of medals, and was nice enough to come on and talk to us about it. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Of course, appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, how are you feeling? I mean, that was because you flew across the country and then now you recently just got back, right?
Yeah, so I left a couple weeks ago for there. It was it wasn't easy traveling. It took us a whole extra day because of all the cancellations and stuff. So we were there an extra day. So I actually missed an extra day of training because of that. And then coming back as well, we also got delayed. But I guess when you're coming back, it's not a big deal. We just want to get home. All of us were just we want to get home already. Because we were there for 2 weeks. So that was a long time, in a foreign country. And just we're exhausted because you have all the other sports there, the games, and they actually stayed till the closing ceremony where we left because we started the first day after the opening ceremony. And then we ended 3 days before the closing ceremony. But that's when other sports finally start. For swimming, we're literally competing every day, so we're exhausted. We have no energy left at the end. Yeah, so we just
by that point, you're it was fun. I'll head home now.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And this is the second time you've gone to the Deaf Olympics, right?
It's my third time.
Third.
So I went in 13, 17, and this year. Yeah.
God. Yeah. Oh, I'm forgetting the one. You went while you were still in high school.
Yeah, so I think it was junior year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we graduated 14. Yeah, so it was junior year is when I went to Bulgaria. That's when I was a little freshy. I was new to the whole thing. It was first time. But that was a good experience. And then Turkey was actually really good in 2017. That's when I had the experience already, know what to expect. Got college training me in a little bit. And then this year was even more prepared and really knowing what to expect, and just kind of knowing the way it goes because how long the meet is, it's international traveling, everything.
Do you think you'll try and go again? Will you try and do a fourth?
Yeah, so this was actually kind of on the rocks. I didn't decide I was going to go until 3 months ago. I went back to California because I actually, long story short, I quit when COVID hit. So, I started missing swimming a lot. All the people from the other countries are hey, why aren't you going? We want to see you, dude. And I was I know, I'm just not training, I'm not ready. And then I went back to California. I was you know what, why don't I just start training again for now?
So you only trained, you had 3 months of training.
Yeah, honestly, I had 2 months of training.
Oh my
God. It was 2 months, yeah, because I was in Folsom, training for 2 months with my club team. I was so out of shape. The coaches are laughing. I'm oh, we got 2 months to get you ready. I was yeah. But it was good because, I went home, I got to focus for a little bit. Just all I had to worry about was just swimming practice every day, just showing up and then put in the work. So obviously wasn't at my prime in Brazil this year, but in other ways I was good because during my time off, I started lifting a lot. So I was hitting the gym, 4 or 5 times a week. So I gained 40 pounds of muscle. So that really helped in my sprint events. And that helped me with all the other strokes because I usually only do 2 strokes. And I decided to do all the 4 strokes. And that was why I got my medal count really high this time, is because I did almost every event there, whereas I never did before. Yeah.
Okay, I have so many questions. Okay, so one, for background for the people, Matt and I went to high school together. So he's always been a really good swimmer. And that's in Folsom that he talks about. And then, so I guess I'll start with why, because you said, you basically took 2 years off and then had the most, and then trained for 2 months and then had the most medals ever.
Yeah.
So first starting with why did you decide to stop and not keep going?
So I'll try and keep it on good terms here. So COVID hit and kind of just a lot of things went sideways. It was right when I was graduating. and that's when I wanted to start training pro and all that. And COVID hits, everything stopped, no meets, no nothing. And it was just kind of a hard time. Like the rules in every state was different. California was on one of the most strictest rules. So I didn't go back to California really that long when it happened. So I actually stayed with my friend, like my best friend now. And he's finishing his 5th year right now. So he's still here with me. He lives in Texas, and Texas was like the probably best state that had less rules. So like they didn't even care about the masks yet. So we were able to train a little bit in Texas. And then once it got really serious, that's when it stopped. And then that's when I stopped and I just started lifting instead. And when I came back, the 2 coaches that were at the time, we didn't have the best, I'm a very hard worker, but we have a lot of arguments back and forth with my training. When I was recruited for college for a different race, and then I became stronger and bigger, and I became a better sprinter, but they needed me in a middle distance. And that's where it kind of came forth, because it was like, well, it's my senior year. I need to work on myself this year because pro swimming, and that's what matters after college, where, we just had a lot of fighting. And so like things kind of got rough, and COVID was a very hard year. So they were stressed. So they said they weren't going to train me. And I wasn't the only one. I'll say that there was a lot of people with a lot of issues. They eventually got cut from the program, and now there's a whole new staff at LSU, and they're amazing. So right now I'm actually back. So this is actually my first week training with them right now, because that's why California, I started swimming 3 months ago, and now I'm continuing my training after that. So now I'm at LSU again, training for the summer with them, and it's been awesome so far. The coaches know what they're doing, just way better atmosphere and everything. And it's just, and the thing is, what I noticed is when I was here during the COVID or last year, so like the year after COVID kind of, all the swimmers were just so much happier, so much like hardworking and stuff from the previous coaching staff. And I could see that, and that's what I kind of wanted to be a part of. So yeah.
Oh, that's so much fun. I feel like it's crazy how many people, like so many of our friends were college athletes. I mean, I feel like yours is a different level, but the amount of people, even my friends, my entire soccer team went and played college soccer, and most, like probably 80% dropped out because they're like,
really,
not even like they're super solid soccer girls, but they're like, I can't with the coaching staff. And like, I've heard so many different schools, it's like the coaching staff really changes people's like opinion of the sport, which is so
100%.
sad, because like it's like the best of the best athletes all go to college, and then like these sports that have been their lives and like such a joy turns into like this awful experience.
There's so much to it, because like there's your sport, but then who you're training for and what school you're at is another half of that whole aspect, and that's played a big role with me in my college, and I always get this question asked is, if you could do it again, would you change your school? And it's like, my first year I would say yes, but now looking back, it's like no, because it's it's not always about the sports, it's the people I met, the teammates, the people outside of on the other sports team, people in classroom, just the whole like city I'm in. And I wouldn't take it back, because it's got me to where I am and stuff. So yeah,
that's a good mindset. I heard this quote and I really like it, and it's like, if you had it your way, like if you had the childhood that you would have like you could pick for yourself, and like all these experiences you'd pick, they're like, you wouldn't be the person you are, because like your life would have been like kind of too easy, and you wouldn't. And I was like, right. I was like, right. I respect that. So I don't know, but also glad that now you're the good coach staff and it works
good sign. I love the sport again.
It is. When I finished, because I did all 4 years, but I like dealt with injuries. I went to like Division 3 instead of a higher division, and then like the coaches like came in and out. We had one of our coach our sophomore year, he had like a scandal, and so like he resigned.
Yeah, resign.
Like
That's what
the
we said.
NCAA came in and was
Yep.
like,
Yep.
and then he
Yeah.
just disappeared, you know? And they're like,
Uh-huh.
no, he resigned. But I like my freshman year, I was like, I should not have gone to this college. And then now that I graduated and like have a steady job, I'm like, okay, that worked out. Like I
Right. It
wouldn't
works
have
out in
changed
the
it.
end.
But
Right. It works out in the end. No, yeah, and like, like resigning, like that's a very popular term with swimming. Like swimming has a lot of scandals. There's one that just popped up yesterday and it's blowing up, and it's one of the Cal coaches, and she's like the most prestigious women's coach, like 30 years there, I think 29 years. And I guess there's some swimmers now, like, because you don't really like to come forward when you're on the team because your scholarship, your reputation, everything on the line. I think because they find out and you're something, they're gonna brutally attack you while you're in
yeah.
practice field next year. And so like there's a couple of females like coming out right now with it, and it's kind of blowing up because people usually wait till they're done.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. So has she resigned?
No, I think
Still
it's
going.
like day two. I think I think they're just gonna go into it pretty deep. I think because Cal's a very prestigious swimming school, one of the best, and I think they're gonna take it serious. But at the same time, she's produced results. So it depends. There's just coaches that are tough, but they know what they're doing, and then there's abusive coaches, and there's a line, and it's hard to tell just from a couple people. There's got to be a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Ironically, like now that I work, like I'm in like the corporate world, it's kind of this, not to that level, but it's interesting because there's like leaders who produce results, but like their team hates them. And then there's leaders that like everyone loves, and like everyone loves to go to work, and then eventually like everyone leaves one team and goes to the other. So it's like
right.
I think going.
For that, like I think that's where I can use two different terms. I think a boss, boss is someone that's in charge and takes kind of demanding of stuff, or the leader, they're with you through that process and supportive. Like that's why I kind of compare the two. Like the coaches we had a couple years ago, they were bosses, but the coaches we have now, they're leaders. Yeah.
No, that's a good outlook. I like that. Okay, so then and then your decision to come back, you talked about. How did it feel going? Okay, so like the people listening, you won 14 medals, which is a record, right?
Yeah, so it was a record because I broke the most anyone's won in a single Deaf Olympic Games. Yeah.
And how many world records have you broken, including you've broken some and then broken your own?
Yeah, so I've broken my own, but I don't know how many times, because like for me, like every time I go best time in those events, because I hold the world record, it's a new world record. So it's nice because it's like, okay, I just go for best time every time, and then you get a new world record. It makes it easy. But right now I hold currently 4, so it's all the backstroke events and then the 53. I was hoping to get the 5th one this meet, but I had so many races where like that race, which was the 50 fly, I wanted to break. I had 2 other events that night, and I just beat. I was like, that's so hard. Like knowing if I was rested and stuff, I could have gotten it. So I think that might be a goal for me this summer, is to break it at nationals. Yeah.
How do you balance that? Because like, I mean, 14 medals is a huge accomplishment, and then because that's like, I mean, that's just crazy in its own. But then you're like, okay, I went hard in 14 races to win these, so I can't, like, obviously your energy is a little maybe less than it would be for you to like break your own record. It's like you're competing against yourself versus others.
Yeah, and like so, like when I go to national this summer, I'll only have 2 races, which will be 100 back and 53, and those are my best races. So knowing that, my times will be a lot better because I'll be rested and focused. Like I might just have the 100 back. I don't know the exact layout, but like 100 back would be one day, and then maybe 2 days later will be the 53. Where in Brazil I was doing 4-5 races every day. So that's a different game. That's more endurance rather than it's hard for sprinters to do that.
Yeah. I mean, especially with how quickly you came back, which is insane.
Yeah, I had a little lacking of endurance there. Yeah.
Okay, so then overall, like it must have been so good to, I'm just imagining like you go, you don't have the best experience, you take 2 years off, people are like,
Mm,
you know what, you should come back. You come back,
right.
you have like people who are standing by you, you train your ass off, you
Mm,
get in and you win all these medals and you're just like, then you didn't want to train me, did you? You know, like
right.
how does
Yeah.
that, I feel like that must feel good. It's like proving something to
It
yourself.
did. It did. It's like when I told people, and I get it because I would be the same way in a little bit. Like when I told some people, I was like, yeah, I'm actually gonna go to this meet, and like 2 months, they were like, what? Like no, I am. I'm like, dude, you haven't been training. I was like, okay. And so, it's not like out of disrespect, but it's just like, I mean, I kind of laughed too because I was kind of like really unsure. I
Yeah.
signed up. I was like, hey, put me in all these event coaches, and like, you want all these? I was like, sure, we'll just take it day by day. And then when I was swimming prelims, I was just on a race I don't train at all. Like I haven't trained this race in like 8 years, which is breaststroke, and I swim at prelim, and I get third, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll keep it tonight, even though I have like the 100 back also, which is my best event. I was like, I'll just do both. Let's see where he goes. And I think what was interesting was my most hyped moments at the meet were actually when I was winning the bronze and silvers over gold,
Really?
because the gold ones were the ones that I hold the world records in. So it's I'm expected. I don't mean this in a cocky way. I'm
No,
expected to
I
win those
yeah.
races. Whereas breaststroke and butterfly that I'd never done before in any of the other games or regularly, I medaled, and it was just like, oh crap, like that's awesome. I was like hyped about it because that's just adding to my medal count. And after during the meet, we kind of like realized, so like, what is the most? So like, I already had 7 on like day 3, and people were like, how do you have 7? And it's like that's like yeah, and I was like, it was really nice. And then we realized the record for the most medal counts ever in history, any like not just a single game but all together
hmm
is 30, and I'm at 22 now. So I just
Okay.
if I go for 2025, that's my goal now. Let's go to 2025, and I want to get more than 8. But if I get 8, I'll break it and then hopefully move forward. And obviously, I'm thinking about the 14 races, and then maybe I'll have 2 more events because I was watching. I had a day off actually. I actually got 1 day off, and it was the 200 free day. And I was watching, and I was like, I kind of want to be in this race. I was like, knowing myself, I could have medaled, but it was just like I needed that mental break. Just
Yeah.
I was exhausted every night.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, every night. Like we didn't get home till like 11, and then we have to wake up at 6 for breakfast and then go to the meet for
Oh my
prelim
God.
session. So it was,
Trying to be like peak performance.
yeah. And like one night I didn't get home till like I didn't go to bed till 2 because we had a drug test after like the second day, and they held us for like 2 hours, and like we hadn't warmed down yet. They pulled us right from our last race.
Wow.
So it was like me and like the Japan guys and the Ukrainians were all just like looking at each other, like shaking our head, like we're not going home till way late tonight.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
That's the things that I feel like are there other things like that where people watch these things and they just assume like you're like perfect rest and like you're ready to go, and there's all
Yeah.
these things in the background that you wouldn't realize you guys are dealing with.
Yeah, like no one knows that. Like a lot of people didn't know that we were up till 2 a.m. like getting drug tested because they all left the pool while we're still behind, stuck. Um, and then like we show up tomorrow morning, and like people are like, you look tired. I was like, yeah, I'm a little tired,
Yeah.
So that's what really came in handy is having that 1 day off I had because I needed that bad.
Yeah, you're like, I need the rest.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, the other thing I was curious about, and then I'll go on to more questions, but you had mentioned that when you were training, especially your senior year, you started to have to decide
Mhm.
what's best for you
Right.
versus what's best for like the coach and the team. How did you like come about that decision? Because I feel like that's very difficult. I'm just putting my shoes in like college self and like things that athletes have to think about,
Right.
to have to make that decision and then get the pushback you were getting.
So honestly, my junior year short course was better than my senior year short course, mainly because my senior year was more focused on long course swimming, because long course swimming is world swimming. Basically, it's the Olympics, world champs, everything. Where USA is actually the only country that does short course. Yeah, so it's like high school, college, because we have foreigners that come from the other countries and they're long course swimmers. They're not short course swimmers. So it's just different. We just have, that's just college. So that's why I was like, after college, there's no more short course racing for me anymore. It's all long course. So that's, I was so focused on that, and I had my side view, my side goal, which was making 2020 Hungarian team, because I have dual citizenship with them. And
I didn't know that.
That came like we kind of started figuring that stuff out like my senior year. It's before COVID happened, and we were aiming for that, and I was doing really well. And by the time I was going to perform, COVID happened, and then the travel ban happened, so I couldn't travel to their country to compete again. And that's what led to me quitting too, because travel ban, I can't compete with the team, I can't train. So I kind of lost a little hope there, and the whole COVID thing was just, no one knew how long it was going to last. What's the deal for a while? It took a toll on me for a long time, but I don't regret it or anything, because I learned a lot that year during COVID when swimming was taken away from me again. I kind of found myself outside the sport, and now I'm able to kind of keep that balance. Like these past 3 months, I've been having so much fun again in the sport, and knowing that it's not all about swimming, because that's what I kind of was growing up. All I cared about was swimming, because that's all I did. And now I know how to balance it all.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your mindset, and like, how did you come to that conclusion? Because that is a very hard thing to do, especially when like swimming's a big time to, like, soccer for me was a time dedication, but swimming's like a whole nother level. So during that time off that you took to just, like you're saying, focus on yourself and like mental state, what are the other big findings that you had for yourself, and like how did you kind of maneuver that?
I kind of just realized like I was just kind of doing nothing, and I missed the sport. I was just like, all I'm doing, just going out a lot, just doing that stuff. I just kind of felt I didn't have a purpose. That's how I always was growing up, especially with my disability. I always want to prove people wrong, and I missed that feeling, and that just kind of kept bothering me, So once the rules started kind of getting backing off a little bit with the COVID restrictions, so I kind of started thinking about it again. And when I went to California, that's when I decided, let's just try it. Maybe I won't like it, because it definitely sucked the first month. I was just dying. I was like, all the 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds were killing me. They were all beating me. I feel like I'm like, oh wow, I suck. And then every week I got better and better and better. And there's like these two guys that I love. They're seniors in high school. So I was racing with them, like practicing with them every day, and like they killed me like a whole second in the 50th first day. And I was like, just give me like a month and a half and I'll beat you. And that's what happened. And I was like, I told you I would. So yeah, it was a good feeling, like seeing myself come back. And after what I did in Brazil, just proved my point more that I really do want to be back in the sport and keep moving forward. And just for 2 months, that's a really good spot to be in. And that's why I'm now focusing for nationals this summer, end of the summer in Irvine. And that's why I'm just going to kind of see where I can go, see how far I can do in like 5 months of training. And we'll decide after that summer what's the next move and plan will be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to let me know when you
come. What's that?
I said you'll have to let me know when you come to Irvine.
Oh, definitely. Round 2.
Yeah, right. What was the other thing? Okay, so on that, like, I saw this video the other day and I posted it to my story, and I had like 20 people comment and like reply and DM me, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is totally me. And so I'm curious, your take. I don't know the answer to it yet, but for the video was basically saying that as athletes, you're so used to your schedule being very dictated by your sport. So you don't necessarily have to think through what you want to do in your day. And it's very much like, okay, in the morning, I should be doing this. I should wake up and train. And then I go to, or at least in college, it's like classes or whatever your day is. And it's like, even when you're resting, it's like purposeful rest. It's like purposeful eating. It's all these things that you should be doing throughout your whole day.
Right.
And then you stop doing your sport and you're like, what do I do with my free time? Like, I feel still, I've not been playing soccer for 3.5, maybe 4 years now. And I still struggle to be like,
that's a hard sport. It's like, you need teammates for that.
Yeah.
With swimming, you can go in any pool and do that yourself. Like, that's hard. Soccer, you need teammates, kind of like. You can't just like take a ball around and call that practice or something. Yeah.
Luckily,
so that's tough. Yeah.
Luckily now I'll play like on pickup leagues, and now I'm like chill. Like it's just for fun. If anything, if someone gets too riled up, I'm like, relax. Like,
it's just a game.
Calm down,
Right.
But I still don't know what to do with free time. Like I'll have like an hour to do nothing, and I'll sit and I'm like, I should be doing something, shouldn't I? Like, should I stretch? Should I like go do this? And it was so funny to me to see everyone else was like, wait, this is so me. Like, I don't know how to not do it. I don't know. Did you feel that during
100%. 100%. And that was kind of like my distraction. Like, I started going to the bars at night because I had something to do.
Yeah.
And because I was so bored. Like, I was so used to waking up every morning, and now I didn't have to wake up any morning. Sometimes I wake up at like afternoon, 1, 2. I'm like, wow, half the day's gone. And then, it's just kind of, it's fun at first, you finally get to relax. But it gets old quick. It's, it's just like, you're so used to that schedule. And yeah, that was one of the hardest things. It was like I said, I wanted a purpose again. I wanted something to wake up for rather than, just waking up. Oh, what am I going to do today? Yeah. So like now my schedule through the summer, brutal. Like, I don't hate it. I do, but it's for a purpose. So I'm okay with it. And it's doubles every day except for Wednesday and Saturday, and every day except for Sunday, I have a morning.
Oh, geez.
So I'm waking up at 6 a.m. every day again, which is good because like I know I need to go to bed early, get meaningful rest, wake up, start the day right. So it's what I need, and it's it's part of it.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like physically it's obviously way harder, but sometimes I feel like, at least for me personally, sometimes mentally the days go by a lot faster and easier almost when
I literally thought that yesterday.
I
was literally saying that yesterday to myself. I was like, the day's already almost over, and I was like, because it was my birthday yesterday, and it's like 8:00, and people are like, hey, so you're going out? Let's celebrate. Let's go get dinner. I was like, I've been so busy all day. Like, I just got done with my second practice. I'm dead, and like I'm just gonna go to bed, and like. And it's just, I never used to feel like that. Usually I'd be like, yes, let's go. Because I was so bored. So I would say yes to everything. And and the days felt so long because I was just sitting around home bored all day. I'd be playing Xbox or something, and I would just be bored. So it's good. It's like, in a sense, I finish practice at 8 a.m, have practice at 2 p.m. But it literally feels like 1 hour. I have 1 hour. It's like I was just here an hour ago. So your days go by fast.
It does. I've been trying. So there's this like model, and it basically. So right now, for most of my life, I've been very like reactive or like to certain things, and even in my job, like the job I chose for the first 3 years was like super reactive, like constantly solving issues and timelines, stuff like that. And then now my current job is very more like long-term strategy and like advising, but so it kind of fits in. And there's this new model that new for me, not new in the world, but it's like, okay, observation, pause, and then like meaningful action. And
Okay.
I've gotten good at pausing. I have no clue what to do with meaningful action. So like
Really?
Sunday, I was like, okay, I'm pausing. I acknowledge like I don't want to go on my phone. I don't want to watch TV. And then I was like, I don't want to work out. And I was like, what's left? Like what is
Right.
meaningful action? But I also
Uh-huh.
feel like that's how like I started this podcast because I was like, purpose, like meaning. So
Right. Yeah.
okay, back to the questions, what do you attribute, like you clearly have a huge drive, so what are the big things that you attribute to your success and that like drive and passion?
I think my biggest drive would be my disability, just kind of having a disadvantage, growing up, just kind of trying to prove people wrong and just trying to be the best I can be myself and for others, like I never realized it, but like every time when I get done with the Deaf Olympic Games, I have all these deaf people reach out to me, adults, kids, parents of deaf children, and they just compliment me and just tell me about their struggles or their kids' struggles, and it just, it makes me happy because that's what I want. I always want to be supportive of everyone. I want to help others, and that's what drives me. Like it's better. Like when I'm racing, if you're just kind of racing just for yourself, it's still a good thing. But like it's just that little extra. You see with like the greatest athletes, they have struggles. They're trying to prove something, and they have something meaningful behind it. And that's my meaningful thing is I'm just trying to prove something. Like for the kids, like the deaf kids growing up, like they're doing sports, not even sports, classroom and stuff, like don't give up. It might be hard growing up and stuff, but like you really can put yourself through anything if you really put yourself to the task and believe in yourself. That's the biggest thing is believing in yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, you showed that like tenfold with this latest.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. But I mean, how is it? Because we met in high school and by then you were a good sport. And I feel like by then you had clearly like figured it out, but you would still get comments and like you just brush it off and like people would joke and like I remember people always like make fun of you for being like what, and like you just like you'd like play into the joke, you'd be like
whatever. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm still that way 100%. Like that's how I practice, like Jack, my best friend, this morning he was like I don't know, just like stupid stuff I can't repeat but like like he was saying like like you're just laughing because like the other day we were at In-N-Out when we were in Texas, and it's just like little things that are just funny. We were ordering our food, and the lady said, "What would you like to drink?" And I was like, "Oh, have a good day too." Thank you. And they're like, that. I was like, "What?" And like that's not what she said. I was like, "Oh, what?" So it's like I always say this little things. And I always go along with it because I accept that I can't hear, and once you do that, it's fun. And like my coaches joke with me and stuff, and like my friends like do this, I read lists, so they're always like doing that. I'm like, oh, that can't hear me right now. And it's like that's my personality, like
that's fair.
Half my humor is my deaf humor. I embrace it, and I honestly, this is how I feel this way towards other people is if people can, in a sense, like if my friends or like people that I know can make fun of me, then that means like I feel like kind of accepted, rather than not having to feel awkward around me or like, oh, like, because it's funny when people are like, oh, like I don't want to offend you or anything, but like, were you born like that and stuff? And it's like, oh no, like I'm not offended. Like this is a real question, like I like when people ask about that, and it doesn't offend me at all.
That's fair. I feel like at least you're right though. When you have close friends, I feel like if they make fun of me for something, I'm like, that means you don't actually care because you wouldn't make fun of me to my face if you did.
Right. Because then you feel like you're bullying, like you're actually mean. Like, no, like if they're being, it's like out of love. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you
Yeah.
always like that though? Like,
Oh
was
no,
there a
definitely
point?
not.
Yeah. I
No, like
can imagine.
no, like I got like that in high school actually. I was just kind of socially awkward, quiet, shy kid growing up. I didn't understand like, my mindset growing up when I was in elementary school and middle school. Like I wasn't really an athlete right then. Like I was doing all the sports, and you're so small, you're so young, you don't know what you're doing. So I didn't have that confidence from that, and I was not the best in classroom, and so I didn't have that confidence. So I just felt like I was just behind everyone. I was just at a disadvantage big time, and I let that bring me down. And when I got into high school, I just, I said that's enough. Like I just kind of bloomed, like my personality was just a lot brighter. I was having fun. I accepted my disability. I was making friends, becoming social, doing better in the classroom, getting better in the sports, and everything was just kind of uphill from high school, because I became more disciplined. I kind of understood things, and that's the hardest thing is people that are so young, they don't understand these things. People with disabilities and issues. But when you get older, you kind of realize, it's like always like your parents saying like, you wish you grew up fast, but like don't be in such a rush to grow up, and then you look back like they were right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those kind of things.
Like it's true, but
yeah.
So what was swimming the turning point? Like just having confidence and knowing that you were like better at something and you could like own that, and then the rest kind of followed?
Yeah, because the classroom I was just like average, so I didn't have that confidence in the classroom. And swimming, it was kind of like in high school, we're like, okay, I was getting better. I grew a lot in high school because I used to be really short. And I'm trying to like explain it, like I guess it gave me a purpose, and I think that's where it leads all back to. It's like once I found a purpose, once someone has purpose, they're comfortable in themselves. They know what they can say about themselves to other people, like when people ask you like, well, what do you do? Like, you don't know how to answer that, it's like awkward and stuff. And like for me as a swimmer, people ask me like, oh, why you swim? Why are you still swimming? Why this? And I have an answer, and that brings me a lot of confidence. I have a purpose, and it all leads to swimming, to be honest. Like that's the start of it now.
Yeah.
And now I have confidence in other things now, but swimming definitely started that change in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like just having something that is yours and makes you like unique or special to other people. Because especially when you just, I mean, we try not to, but I feel like it's just in our nature. Like when you're younger, I mean, I still do, but like compare yourself to others. And so if you're constantly comparing yourself and you stack up like average or below average, and you're like, what is, and then you find that thing that you're like, haha, this is my thing.
Right. Yeah, because you get that comfort and like, oh, I can do something that you can excel compared to others. Because I mean, everyone always compares, and that was like the one thing that pissed me off in college is when like one of the old coaches compared me to one of this guy that was 6'6", way bigger than me, and it was a complete sprinter where I wasn't. And you'd be like, and I was doing more weight training, so I was actually more tired. So I was going slower in practice, and like, well, why is he going faster than me? I was like, because I'm going to all the practices and stuff, and that just pissed me off. And I was like, never compare me to someone else, because like, and because I know how that feels, I never do that to anyone. Like everyone's unique in their own ways, and everyone's at a different level, at times. So it's,
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so you've touched on a handful of these. So I don't know if you have a different answer, but I was wondering what's your biggest lesson in all of this? But I feel like you've had some really good ones sprinkled throughout the episode.
Yeah, there have been so many lessons, honestly. Swimming, I'm just trying to think. It's like I'm trying to think lessons. So
I'm trying to think of ones that you haven't, because you touched on like okay, the confidence and like being able to like
Yeah.
an example and have a purpose and like not taking things, being your own voice with like the coaches. But I feel like
I like
shared a
the
lot of them
big.
already, so I wasn't sure if you had
I
any extra ones.
I guess like the biggest lesson is if you love to do something, keep following it, because
Yeah, or piece of
that's why I'm
advice.
training again. Piece of advice, yeah, and that's my thing is for 20. My dream growing up, like I was almost every athlete's dream, be an Olympian, and that's still my dream, and I feel like I owe that myself because that was the thing when I quit. I was just like, what if? And like that's the hard, with a lot of athletes, that's a hard question to have when you retire. You finish your sport. It's like, what if? What if I tried harder? What if I kept going? And that I didn't want. So that's why I'm going again. And I'm so close. So it's like I don't want to give up that childhood dream that made my drive. So I think for other people is like if you love it, then do it. Make it work. Just keep following it. Because you'll be satisfied in the end because you did your best.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's a good one. And I feel like you'd be surprised when you do how much of an example and like what it means to other people. Like I feel like you were doing, like, it started off as something for you, like
Right.
and now it's like you have people coming up to you and being like,
Right.
wow, you are
It led into something else.
it like leads
Yeah.
to something bigger than you. But I think it only comes when you're genuinely like being yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And and that's what that's why I love swimming. Because it's not just about yourself, and it's the community, especially Deaf Olympics. Like you're at a place where almost everyone has the same struggles, same issues. So everyone's just so supportive, and everyone cares. Like, and how it is, like other countries, your rivals, are all, there's a communication barrier, but like literally everyone's hugging each other after the races, congratulating, typing on the phone, like trying to translate and stuff. Like everyone is so supportive. Like my rivals, like were Ukraine, they're really good. They pay their athletes. They have like a training team and all that. USA doesn't have that, but Ukraine was our biggest rival, and those guys were fast, and they look intimidating just because like I guess you're not used to seeing those, like everyone looks different, so I guess they have like kind of a resting stare face. So I'm just like, oh, I think he hates me already, and then he was like hugging me. He's like, and like the guy, like we were in the locker room, the guy goes, "Are you Matt Klotz?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, I've always wanted to meet you for 4 years. I've heard about you all the time. I've seen all your stuff. And he's like, I'm glad I finally raced you and met you. And he's just like saying like, he's like, thank you so much for actually talking to me. And I was like, oh, of course. Like, it's just like, those good feelings, just, you're doing something right. And so that, like, that's one of my favorite moments from that meet is like them approaching and being like, oh, are you this person? And they're like, you weren't what we expected. We thought you were going to be like this intimidating kind of like don't talk to anyone, only here for medals kind of guy, like, and I was just talked to like every country, every team, and that was the one thing that sucked was we were always trying to leave the meet, like, or leave the day. But that's when I'm finally done racing because I'm like literally racing the entire session. So when I'm done, everyone then approaches me and talks to me, and I'm just like having all this conversation. The team's like ready to leave. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't like just say no. Like I'm trying to get back. I want to get back. I don't want to be that person that just ignores people. I want to get back, and because I appreciate it all.
Yeah, no, that's so meaningful. That's such a cool experience.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like, I don't know, like mentally and mental health wise, like, is it ever hard when people look up to you so much and when you hold the records for like events that you swim, or are you pretty good about being like, we're just gonna go and do my best?
Yeah, I think going to that meet, there was definitely a little mental, like, there's so many different mental aspects of stuff. Like there's, emotionally and mental stuff, and there's physical mental stuff. And I think I had a little bit of both going into it, because I was like, I haven't raced in so long.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be at my peak, you know. It wasn't that I was doubting myself, but just the science is there. Like I've taken a year and a half off. Only been training for 2 months. I'm obviously not at my peak. And I just knew I was happy because I was back into the pool because I could have not been going at all. So, you know, I was like, you know what, like I can go here, maybe get a medal to hopefully my backstroke event. So maybe I'll get 3 medals. Let's see how they want. You know, I didn't have that expectation at all to get 14. And that was like great because I entered 14 events and all 14 events I medaled, and that's why I was like, I didn't expect that. You know, I did not have that goal at all. I didn't even have the goal to get the most records overall. Now it is because I just went to this meet. You know, it was an unexpected thing, but it was definitely a mental challenge because I knew I was out of shape. Didn't know what to expect because I was, you know, I don't want to just like the year before people realized because I wasn't going. I was a late addition because they already had the team roster set up.
Oh wow.
And I was a month late, and I was just like, oh, like so they worked their way, of course, with me. So it was nice, but like I was like, people were like, why are you not going? And it was kind of like, now I'm going. I'm like, now they're gonna be expecting because like, you know, they're like,
oh.
It's funny because like language barrier. So like you medal record, I see you fastest, you come right, like you go meet, and you know, like everyone's expecting me to be there, and I think, you know, they wanted, I don't know, like I hope I met everyone's expectations. But you know, and that's just too hard for me to get perfect 14 gold medals. You know, like I didn't break any world records because I wasn't in my prime, but I think I still did the best I did, and I think, and I could take away from that. I was happy with that. You know, I've always expected so much out of myself growing up, and this one I was able to like just kind of accept where I was at and do the best I can, and that's what I did.
Yeah, that's huge. I feel like it's easy to like when you go into those things, like you could do like you could do, I mean, you did amazing. Like, and you can still sit there and be like, oh, I could have, you know, this would have been better. And then you could do that better stuff and be like, oh, this could have been better. And so it's nice if you can get out of that mindset and be like, I'm just proud of myself for showing up because that was a feat in itself. And like appreciating those little, like, well, not even in this case, little wins, these big wins that got you to this point. And then like the impact that you're having just by like doing it and being there.
That was that, like, I'll say like that was my first 2 days. So my first 2 days were my off events, and that's when I was getting bronze and silver, and I was kind of like, just like when I finished the wall, it was like there's like 8 days total, so it's like first 2 days I was just kind of like, you know, like I wanted to go, you know, so I was kind of, and then I just realized like I have all these other races, and telling myself like, okay, look at the realistic facts, like I'm in training, like, and then that's when I started getting happier through the meets, you know, and then like all of a sudden people saw me celebrating for bronze and silver because I was like, okay, like I'm, you know, I have no expectations. So yeah, that was
and I mean, I'm sure like that switch, people are like, oh, that's so cool, like, you know, and then
that was like the mental battle I had, was kind of the first 2 days was like accepting that I'm not going to be at the best I am, because you always want to believe in yourself, like, so that you can perform your best. But you know, that was like the hardest part, I think, of the meet, was those first 2 days, accepting reality that I'm not going to be getting my best times right now.
It's kind of funny though, because once you have the acceptance, then you're like, nothing, like if you got whatever you got before the acceptance, you could have gotten anything and then been like, oh, I don't know, like I think I could have gotten better, and then those same things after accepting it, like suddenly you're having all this fun, and it's like, oh, if it's the same, I might as well have fun doing it, you know?
And I was like thinking about canceling those races, like just not doing them that day.
Really?
Like, you know what, let me just do it. And then like all of a sudden I get, you know, bronze, and I'm like, I wasn't even gonna do this race, so you know, I was happy. And what was funny, which I'm kind of glad this happened in a weird way, I wasn't entered in one event, and they accidentally put me in it instead of another event. So I was put in both during the meet, which like not that it's not allowed, but like
It's a lot.
signups like for the event. So I was like, that was my 14th race. So it was kind of funny because like had they not made that mistake of putting me in another event, I wouldn't have got those all the most medal counts. So it's like it's weird how it works out. Like because that's what I was saying. Because I didn't have that goal of getting the medal. So I was like, that's if me and my joke laughed. Me and my coach laughed because we're like, I wasn't supposed to be in that event, but they kept me in it. And we're like, it was like maybe they wanted you to break the record, so they kept you in. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's like one of those. I'm a big believer of just everything happens for a reason. And that's one of those where you're like, all right.
Right. Yeah.
Expect the best. Oh, that's awesome. No, I'm so glad you came on. It was so cool too. I didn't know like most of those things. So it's cool to hear and you have such an interesting, like you have such a good mindset on it all. Like, and I think you have to be able to keep doing it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Especially as you get older, you have all these other things in life, you got, work, you got social, you got, relationships, there's so much more than just a sport as you get older. So there's a lot that you have to keep in control and stuff. And that's what the best part about swimming too is it taught me all that. It taught me the balance. It taught me relationships. It kind of, to be a hard worker, and like that correlates to everything else. Like I work hard in my friendship. I work hard in my, in work life. I work hard in just everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It just like carries through in everything that you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.